How's it going, guys? So today I wanted to talk about my favorite Sonic cartoon of all time, Sonic SatAM, or known simply as Sonic the Hedgehog, because that is exactly what the show was actually called. But because it was a Saturday morning show, many people started referring to it in retrospect as Sonic SatAM to set it apart from the weekday show, The Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. And wouldn't you know it, that these shows actually aired 2 weeks apart? Yeah, that's right. Sonic SatAM, it actually premiered September 18th, 1993, and The Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, September 6th, 1993. So actually, Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog was the first show, the first ever Sonic cartoon in actuality. Now, both are pretty much remembered. I think sort of kinda Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog might have been a bit more well known because of the jokes, the cartoony nature, and how batshit crazy it could be at times. But Sonic SatAM is often known by many Sonic fans as the best, and in retrospect, so many people have said that it's overrated. Of course, because everyone has to be a contrarian now, don't they? Yeah, because, something is actually good, we gotta say it's bad today, and people have false memories. Ooh, this show is not as good as it used to be. No, it's good. It's really good. It's great. And this show is responsible for inspiring the Sonic the Hedgehog comic book series by Archie, which was already being published at this time, but it greatly inspired the comics to no end. Without this show, you wouldn't have had the Archie comics end up being the massive success that it did. So this is an amazing show. It's an incredible show, and it makes Sonic into a world that just didn't exist. It made it into a franchise that was way bigger than the games. It actually showed that Sonic didn't have to play by the rules of how he played in the game. You could actually change it. In fact, you could even change the appearances of characters, like Dr. Robotnik. He looked nothing like he did in the games. Actually, he looked even more awesome. In fact, he sounded awesome. He actually had a voice. He was voiced by renowned voice actor Jim Cummings, who does an incredible job in the show with a menacing Robotnik.
How can a puny hedgehog destroy a 250-ton machine?
And if you didn't know before, you might be surprised at the choice for Sonic's voice actor. Steve Urkel himself, Jaleel White.
Did I do that?
And what's a very interesting choice, but I think he definitely did Sonic's voice justice. He definitely was an unlikely choice for a voice actor to do Sonic, but he made it work. He made him sound very snarky and sarcastic, and the tone of voice worked, and I love it. It's still one of my favorite all-time voices for Sonic the Hedgehog. And it was the only voice that Sonic had, because he did have a voice in Sonic CD, and the often forgotten arcade game, Sega Sonic the Hedgehog. But it was very brief, and we really couldn't tell too much what it sounded like. So Jaleel White, for all intents and purposes, was the voice of Sonic the Hedgehog as far as I'm concerned. And what sets this show apart from any of the others? What sets it apart from Sonic X or Sonic Prime? What sets it apart from Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog? Well, Robotnik has already won. That's right. Robotnik has built his cyber empire, shall we say. He's roboticized citizens of Mobius, including Sonic's uncle, Uncle Chuck. So what's Mobius, you ask? Well, it's Sonic's home. Yes, Sonic actually has a home. Yes, it's not South Island from the games. It's actually Mobius. This is the planet which Sonic lives on. And as far as I'm concerned, back in the day, if you asked me where Sonic lived, I'd tell you Mobius. I wasn't going to tell you fucking South Island or some shit like that. This is where he lived. And specifically, he lived in Knothole with the other freedom fighters. Freedom fighters, you say? Who are these people? Well, they're a cast of characters that many people still demand make a return to this day. Most notably, Princess Sally. who is actually a princess that is also a freedom fighter and a badass, and also Sonic's love interest. Bunny Rabbit, who is a half roboticized rabbit. Yes, Dr. Robotnik off-screen captured her and actually managed to roboticize half her body. So she has a robotic arm and both of her legs, and you could see it. Like, it's a very well-designed character. Sonic managed to save her in time, so she's one of the freedom fighters. There's also Antoine, who is part of the former Royal Guard, and he is a total klutz. You gotta love his French accent and his never-ending jealousy over Sonic and his relationship with Princess Sally. In fact, there's actually a very good episode where he gets so jealous that he embarks on finding and stopping Robotnik himself. And that's actually a really good episode. I really enjoy that one. It's called Hooked on Sonics, like hooked on phonics. I love a good pun, and that's definitely a good one. That one's great. So yeah, definitely check that one out. That's got to be like one of my top episodes, to be quite honest. It's good fun, and it really gives Antoine a purpose. In fact, it was on my VHS, and there was also Warp Sonic on the same tape, and I watched that one over and over. And I really like that one, where it's about an underground city of other Mobian refugees. There's other freedom fighters other than the main group that's hanging out in Knothole. And Knothole is really interesting. We should probably talk about that for a little bit. This is actually a secret underground hometown for Sonic on Mobius. Robotnik does not know the location. He does know that there's a secret entrance somewhere, but he doesn't know that it's accessed through a tree stump. So this is something that we would see in the comics, and I think it's really cool because it really makes Sonic and his friends really feel like rough and tough refugees. They're fighting to take back the planet Mobius from Dr. Robotnik, and they really feel like an underground fighting force. And Robotnik has Robotropolis, which is this big, huge, massive city that kind of seems like it could have been inspired by Scrap Brain Zone, at least the backgrounds anyway, in Sonic 1. And it's really cool. I love that Robotnik has his own city, and he's basically in control, and Sonic is fighting from the bottom to the top. And it's not like Robotnik is trying to actually fulfill his evil desires and schemes, because he's already won. He's just trying to keep Sonic and his friends at bay. And Robotropolis is full of SWAT bots, and you won't see any of the badniks from the games. So there's no Caterkiller, there's no Motobug, there's no Crab Meat. You will see the Buzz Bombers in the pilot episode, which eventually became the season finale of Season 1, but they're nowhere to be seen in any other part of this series, Season 1 or 2. Come to think of it, there's really no other classic badniks in any other of the Sonic series. You won't see the ones that I just named in Sonic X. However, you would see Grounder and Coconuts in The Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. But the SWAT bots are more imposing than basically any of the badniks from the classic game, so I will give it that. It definitely fits the tone of the show. And I forgot about one of the other freedom fighters, and that's Rotor. He's the mechanic. This guy is probably the least interesting out of the bunch. He doesn't really do a whole lot except provide support and, like I said, make weapons and be a mechanic for Sonic and fix things. And by the time Season 2, and there's only 2 seasons, comes around, Rotor is pretty worthless, to say the least. Also, it's interesting to note that in Season 2, there was some changes, to say the least. Not a lot of changes, but Sally gets her blue vest. Antoine gets this redesign, which I'm not too crazy about. There's No doubt in my mind that his season 1 appearance was way better. And what did they do to Rotor? Oh my god, he just looks painfully horrible here, but luckily he's pretty much in the background for most of this season. And Robotnik has the reverb removed from his voice, making him sound less robotic. And I don't really hate this change, but I like the reverb. It made him sound more menacing. So not the best change, but not one that I'm particularly mad about.
Oh, I'm almost sorry that it's over. If nothing else, you have been a most worthy adversary.
Also, I have to say that Season 2 really does make things have higher stakes. We get the time stones, Sonic and Sally time travel, to see how the Royal Kingdom fell and how the king was basically usurped. And Robotnik managed to take over as he betrayed his friend and the king that he served. And this is Blast to the Past. This is a two-parter, and it's fucking awesome. I mean, it is just tremendous, and I love it. I mean, it really is a very good episode, and this would greatly inspire the story going forward in the Archie comics. And I think that's just awesome that this show is canceled after this season, and we had a whole comic book series that just expanded on everything. Fucking awesome. And I can't tell you, because it's a comic book that defined my childhood, and this show defined it as well. This season has some very important episodes, but it also has some goofy shit. Like, for example, Rebecca, when Antoine activates a robot that Rotor is working on, and it looks like the Bride of Frankenstein. I mean, this one is just goofy. So usually the episodes that are goofy are usually the ones where they have split episodes. So, you know, these are like 11, 12 minutes each, and there's not a lot going on with them. And I do like how they tried to make Antoine more of a main character, but they make him more of a goof. Now, the episode that goes before Rebecca is when Sonic's house gets destroyed and he has to live with Antoine. That's pretty funny because there are two very incompatible roommates. I absolutely enjoyed this one, even though there's no real bearing on the story. But I will say that this could be considered inspiration for Sonic Boom, where there's not really high stakes and it's all in good fun, and there's funny business and comedic parts. Even though there are funny parts in the series, this is definitely more jokey than usual. And I like that the show can take some time to not take itself too seriously, just like Sonic Boom. I like the season premiere of Season 2, which is Game Guy, and what is definitely an ode to Sonic Spinball. And I greatly enjoyed this one. This one's definitely, if you're not going to watch all the episodes of Sonic SatAM, I would definitely recommend that one. What's really hilarious to me is the ordering of the episodes and the seasons. I guess when things got a little bit heavy, they felt like they should get a bit lighter, because right before the Rebecca and the Odd Couple episode with Antoine and Sonic living in the house together is The Void, where we get introduced to Naugus. And Naugus is a really powerful wizard that Robotnik turned his back on and banished him a long time ago. But this is a character that would actually show up quite a bit in the Archie comics, but it would take many a year for him to actually appear. Yeah, we wouldn't see him until later on down the line, where there's an arc in the story where Sonic and Tails set off on a quest to find and defeat Naugus. And it's really cool that the Void is reused in the comics as well as the Zone of Silence. It looks a lot different, but that's basically what it was inspired from. And we end things with the Doomsday Project, which is in a pretty decent way to end the show, with one of the big highlights being Robotnik capturing Sonic and nearly roboticizing him. I wouldn't say that this was like a really awesome finale or anything like that. This is a doomsday device that Robotnik is looking to utilize, and Sonic and Sally use the time stones to destroy it. And seemingly, Dr. Robotnik has been defeated, and Snively was in hiding, and he comes out ready to take the place of Dr. Robotnik as the main villain. And this was a pretty cool idea. They even did this in the comics as well, because Snively is always abused by his uncle, Dr. Robotnik. Yes, this is actually Robotnik's nephew, and he just uses him and treats him horribly. He treats him like gutter trash, and Snively is ready to take the reins as the ruler of Robotropolis, and we see a pair of eyes at the end. And I always thought that this was Knuckles' eyes, but Season 3 was not to be, and this was the last episode. Season 3 was not to be. I like that rhyme. I don't like the fact that there wasn't a Season 3, because the ABC president, the channel which this show aired on, did not like this show, didn't have a lot of faith in it, and guess what he did? He dumped it, he canceled it, and we never got a conclusion. Many years later, we would learn from the series writer Ben Hurst, who sadly, rest in peace, who has passed away, revealed to us that the pair of eyes we see at the end of the season 2 finale was none other than Nogus's. Yeah, I could have sworn it was going to be Knuckles, but there was plans to introduce Knuckles in Season 3 as well, because I always was longing for Knuckles, but Knuckles wasn't really in existence for that long, so they really didn't have a chance to write him in. Yeah, they could have put him in ahead of time because they knew he was going to be in Sonic 3, but we really can't hold it to him that much, because the last episode was aired December 3rd, 1994, the same year that Sonic 3 came out. And even though the season started while Sonic 3 was released, they did have a story to finish up, and I guess they didn't have any room for Knuckles. Yes, there were those filler episodes, but, you know, they could have slid Knuckles in there somewhere, I guess, but what's done is done, and I don't think that the writers or anyone producing this show thought that it was going to end after the second season, because we were left on a cliffhanger, a fucking cliffhanger that went nowhere. And still to this day, I cannot believe that we never got a conclusion to it. But there is a project, Team Season 3, and they've been hard at work since 2022, working on Season 3, animating it and voicing it. This is going to be a huge, massive project, and I have a lot of faith in it. There's a lot of love for Sonic and Sonic SatAM in this project. They even went so far as to get the lead singer of Crush 40, Johnny Gioeli, to sing the old theme song, The Fastest Thing Alive, which to me is one of the greatest pieces of music ever produced for a piece of Sonic media. So, with that said, Sonic SatAM as it stands is the greatest Sonic cartoon of all time, and I don't care what anybody says. I love that it made Sonic more than what he was in the games. It made him an important character, it made him a hero, it made him a freedom fighter. It made him something more than what we thought. So guys, let me know what you think about Sonic SatAM. Where does it rank in your favorite Sonic cartoons of all time? Would you say it is one of the best? Or would you say it's one of the worst? Where do you stand? Are you with the haters? Or are you like me and you're one of the big time fans of it and you have countless childhood memories of it? So subscribe if you haven't already. Click the bell so you get all notifications when I post all my new videos. And if you enjoyed the video, hit the like button. Hit the dislike button if you fucking hated it. And thank you all guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.